All right, you are looking live at the hashtag two mics. This is the Section 247, the show presented by Michael's Glass Company, a sports talk Philly partner. I am Michael Lipinski, joined as always by the illustrious Michael Watkins. Michael, tonight we are going to be joined. Turn down whatever you got going on there. I can hear that in the background. We're going to be joined later on this evening by Ryan Rothstein from 97.3 ESPN, Philly Special Pod, Fox 29, a whole lot of places, talking some Sixers and Birds. But Michael, right now it is you and I, and well, it's very disappointing, sir. I'd ask you how you're doing, but probably not too well.
I have very mixed emotions over the past 24 hours about this whole Eagles season as it is. I feel very drained, and it's not from my kid wanting to be chased by the vacuum for the past hour and a half.
Yeah, which is always a good thing because then the kid wants to go to sleep. But it's funny. I feel you. I felt the same way this morning when everything was said and done. It was like, all right, I'm toast here. I'm done. Yo, Big Rich, what's happening? Thanks for chiming in on the Facebook.
It's just very disheartening because there's so many woulda, coulda, shouldas. And I know I texted you after the game, but from the start of the season until yesterday when it all ended, it gets you mad. Because injuries are part of the game, but they're decimated from them. And, I hate people that play this game, the woulda, coulda, shoulda game. But if Wentz plays yesterday, they win that game. There's no way they don't win that game if Wentz is quarterback yesterday.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you that if Carson Wentz is in there, this is definitely a different scenario. I mean, look, they lost 17-9 with the third string, fifth string wide receivers and whatever else they had out there, and Josh McCown pulling his gluteus maximus would have been a completely, totally different game. And it's really, really, it's a shame is what it is.
That was his first playoff game ever.
Yeah, it was his
first playoff game ever that he got into play
in professional football.
Well, yeah, that he got to play in. What was his other what was his other playoff?
Oh, he was in college.
He played high school team.
He played. Oh, you're talking about Josh McCown. Well, 18 years when you're on bad teams, that's kind of what happens. So
I mean, he was on the Browns, the Jets.
Yep.
I mean, the list goes on.
Team wanted it. And good for him for getting in, but at the same time, God, I wish we didn't. I wish we never saw him on the field. It would have been completely different if maybe he was getting some garbage time stuff. But I don't. The whole thing. I'm not angry. I'm not angry about it. I'm
not angry either. I'm just kind of. What's up, Will the Thrill? How you doing, man? On Facebook. I just don't know how to feel. I am a little mad, a little sad. I mean, I picked them to lose.
You did pick them to lose, so you were right.
At the end of the day, though, I'm still, I'm a fan. That's the thing. That sucks. God, if Wentz stayed healthy last night, they would have won. There's no way you go to the end zone 4 times and only come away with 6 points last night if Wentz is the quarterback the way he's played over the past 5 weeks.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. You figure you're getting at least 2 touchdowns there, right? Disappointing. It's just disappointing. Jamila chiming in. Yeah,
yeah, I mean,
hopefully we're going to get to that later on. So hang around about next year. And you still love your Eagles. We still love our Eagles too. It's good to see that you're not one of those fans.
The anger isn't because they lost. The anger is because what could have been, going back to September. Because injuries, you're going to, even the Super Bowl year, next man up mentality, but it didn't affect them as much as it did this year when you lost your main guys on the offensive side of the ball and were just depleted in the secondary with the exception of Malcom Jenkins.
Right. And look, disappointing is the best way to put it. But at the same time, maybe this is kind of a good thing that this happened now and not later. What would happen if next week? Rick chimes in. I gave a ton of respect for Josh McCown last night. Yeah, absolutely. Dude did lay it out.
No friggin' doubt. I mean, that guy was basically in tears today. And this is a guy that's only been with the team for a couple of months. Because he knew and he gave it his all. I have no. And unfortunately, he's a backup quarterback. He's a backup quarterback that probably never practiced the goal, never had the opportunity to practice goal line defense or offense, or different packages. They dumbed down, quote unquote, the offense because he doesn't know it all. And it's not his fault. He's a backup quarterback. That's what happens. But he played really well. I mean, that's what I mean. If Wentz is there 4 times in the end zone, they get more than 6 points.
Yeah, easily. You figure they're gonna convert at least twice, and it's a whole different ball game. Defense played well. What was Jim Johnson's old thing? If you can keep a team to 17 points, chances are you're going to win the game, right? Look, they did it twice to the Seattle Seahawks, and it just didn't work out. It didn't work out. It's unfortunate, but hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, and Will checking in about how Russell Wilson is just a class act, no doubt. I mean, that the microphones caught him asking how Carson was yesterday after the game, and no doubt he probably texted him or called him.
At least
to say, "Hey, hope you're doing good."
I think there's a little bit of a code among certain players that you look out for the other players. Obviously, not everybody, and we're going to get to that in a little bit. We're going to get to the hit, but there is a certain code to look after the guy to find out how he's doing, especially when it is a hit the way that it was. And look, let's face it, it probably a little bit dirty, Michael.
Yeah, but I don't think you can even question. I don't think after seeing today, and I stayed off social media even after the game last night. I turned it off before the game, and then I stay off of it. Well, I stayed off of it after the game last night because it was just, it was the end of the season. You're a little bit somber about it. But, going back on today, and everybody saying how dirty of a hit it was. Everybody said it was dirty. So it was. And, Jamil, you're right. Seahawks do play dirty. That's what happens when you're a Pete Carroll coach team.
Well, yeah, we said that going on early on that they were a dirty squad, and then we didn't like them for that reason. And Pete Carroll, we didn't like him for that reason. And look, it came to be. It came to be. And Michael, I'm looking in the green room, and our guest has arrived. He was probably watching the Sixers, and that's okay because we're going to talk Sixers later. We're going to bring him in here. Look, we got 3 people on here now. Ryan Rothstein, 97.3 ESPN, Fox 29. Where else are you? The Philly Special Pod, all over the place, right, sir?
Where aren't you is the question we should ask you.
Uh-oh, Ryan, we can't hear you. Hold on, we'll pull you back and we'll add you.
He might have a delay.
He might have a delay.
Hey, Aaron, you have to specify which Michael has good-looking hair because we both got haircuts.
She's talking about me, clearly talking about me. No one would be talking about you.
Oh, look who's here, Carl Coffey.
Hey, Carl, how are you?
But as far as getting back to Seattle playing dirty, I think Jadeveon Clowney has a little bit of a history of treating Eagles quarterback redheaded stepchildren. He did it against Foles last year.
Yeah, well, Ryan's having some microphone issues. We're going to add him in as soon as he gets that squared away. Look, it's the dude plays football a certain way. It's probably a little bit more old school than it's probably what we're used to, old school wise. But at the same time, it doesn't fly in the league today. I want to read you something here, okay? So people were bitching and complaining about this today, and It's under section 20 here for those of you who can't see it. It's helmet contact.
Did you give your middle finger on purpose there?
Yeah, illegal and targeting. Illegal helmet contact is an act of initiating contact with the helmet against an opponent. There are several types of illegal helmet contact. A butt block, Let's go down to Article C. Spearing is an act by any player who initiates contact against an opponent at the shoulders or below the crown, the top portion of the head with his helmet. That was it right there. And the fact that play wasn't called was it. Look, that's what I'm more upset about. Carson Wentz was going to be out regardless, but the fact that it wasn't a penalty is atrocious. And I'm a zebra. I have the rule books. I can't stick up for them at this point.
No, you can't. I mean, are we going to get one of the, and the commissioner was in watching the game. He was there. So he saw it. He's probably seen that replay about 5,000 times. Are we going to get the Saints treatment of, sorry, we missed a call?
Oh, absolutely.
The next couple weeks?
Absolutely. There's going to be a fine that's going to come out probably some point this week and a reprimand. And that's great. That's fantastic. It does nothing for the Eagles at this juncture, but it's going to happen.
No. I mean, even if you call a penalty on, even if they call a penalty on, it doesn't matter because he's still concussed. He's still not getting back in that game.
No,
so,
he's
I mean,
not.
What would a 50-yard penalty do?
No, he's not getting back in that game, and he's probably not getting back in next week's game either. So, they might have lucked out at that point.
Without a doubt. I mean,
hold on, I got to address this.
I know. Go ahead. Go with that.
Will chimes in that, doctor, if you grew out your goatee a little bit more, you'd remind me of the Anvil. And for those of you who don't know, that's Jim the Anvil Neidhart. And Will, that is exactly what I am going for. We're going to let it grow out a little bit more, and we're going to go to the point. I had a beard. It wasn't working. 37 years old. I barely hit puberty, so I can't grow it out. But we're going for the Anvil. Rick chimes back in, 100% helmet flag or not. Carson wasn't coming back. The damage was done. Absolutely correct. And he's probably not coming back. Like we're saying, he's probably not coming back next week. And that. No. So maybe this whole thing, I guess what I'm getting at is maybe this whole thing is a blessing in disguise, as scary as that sounds.
What's up, Gags on Facebook checking in? No, and that's the thing. I was listening to Howard Eskin this morning for a little bit, and he said that there was no way he was even playing next week, even if they won that game. So that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. It should be interesting because he can't talk to the media because he's in concussion protocol of when he actually will be able to and what his side of the story will be. He's going to take the high road and say that, it is what it is. It's football. That's the type of thing. Even though inside he's probably like, yeah, that bastard, that was a cheap ass hit.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. He is going to take the high road. And a lot of Eagles players were taking the high road because they don't want to lose money in the pocketbook. You lost. Emotions are running high. Now, maybe today is the day where you turn around and you say, I'm not going to take the high road. I'm going to let people have it. No, I don't think that he's never going to do that. Carson, the Christian bearing, Bible thumping guy that he is, he's not going to do that. You and I will go on a rampage for about 3 days, probably. Yeah. Kyle chimes in. He was rooting for us. Oh, well, thank you, Kyle. I forgot you're a Packers fan.
Didn't we already beat the Packers once?
Yeah,
though?
Kyle, we appreciate it. You might want to hop out here before people start giving you a hard time. If anyone wants to give anyone a hard time, Kyle, right there. Sorry, man.
Kyle Gagliari, he's a Packers fan?
He's a Packers fan.
I mean, we beat them, and Devontae Adams had his best game of the year against the Eagles, and we still won.
This is true. Jesus went on Chris Connery trying to say Jesus went on rampages too. That might be the comment of the night so far. I don't know. Christians did. I mean, we had the what do you call it? The Crusades. Jesus was okay. Man, that's great. I love that comment. Keep them,
That's a good one.
keep them coming. And we're kids. We're Catholic school guys, so we'll probably we're gonna get struck down for laughing at that.
I'm already going to hell. It doesn't matter anyway.
Kyle chimes in. There was no way the Eagles were going to go into Lambeau and win. Yeah,
We'll never see that.
You're probably right, but we're never going to know. Michael, let's get into it a little bit more here.
I don't know though. A week off, that week off sometimes, unless you're playing the Minnesota Vikings, really could have some rust on you. And let's remember the Vikings jumped out to a 10-0 lead too.
Ryan just texted me, chimes in that he thinks he's good. So Michael, we're going to add him here. We'll see what happens here.
Am I good?
We're good. I can hear you.
That handsome face.
There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, you see him everywhere and anywhere. He's on with the two mics, which is not as cool as being on with Mike Jarek, but hey, it is what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Rothstein, 97.3 ESPN, the Philly Special Pod, Fox 29. How are you this evening? I have to admit, I didn't listen to your show today because I wanted to see what would happen tonight.
Unbelievable. Do you ever listen? Don't lie.
I do. I use the app, the 97.3 ESPN app, because a little plug, because sports talk radio in Philadelphia sometimes, so you got to listen to the guys. I like Mike Gill. What can I tell you?
Okay, there you go. You're one of three people. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, he is a West Virginia guy, so that holds a little bit of. I have a little bit of heat there as a Rutgers guy, but it is what it is.
Yeah, we'll look past it.
And what do you drinking there?
Rutgers allegedly has a football team now, so.
Listen, Rutgers, well, let's see what happens first. But the man is back in town. He's doing his thing. Rutgers just paid out $2 million for assistant coaches, which I never thought I would see in my lifetime. We'll see what happens. Monmouth, September 5th. It'll be a big one. Hopefully they don't get run out of town by a 1AA team.
Yeah, let's hope not. Now they're looking good. That's a big addition, bringing Schiano back into the landscape there.
They got my money. I said if they were going to do it, I was going to donate, and I did. I put my money where my mouth is.
Good.
But hey, look at that. Yeah, I'm getting texts from Rutgers now. They're really coming after me. So we were discussing.
Yeah, they want more than the 25 cents you gave.
Exactly. we were discussing the Phillies lineup and the Phillies coaching staff. You want to chime in on that?
I mean, where do you want me to start?
yeah. Obviously, the story of the day, the Eagles and the hit on Carson Wentz. And what was the feedback that you received today on the airwaves? Listening to some different things, reading stuff. To me, it was a dirty hit. And I'm a guy who I officiate football. I'm throwing that flag all the time. They missed the penalty. They missed the penalty aspect of it. The hit shouldn't have happened. And every other level, that's a review and an ejection.
Yeah, I mean, it's like after that loss, I personally, you're going on the air. I didn't want to spend the entire show or even an entire segment talking about that hit. It's just not what today was about for me. And I feel like a lot of it got sidetracked because of that hit. And it was a big deal. But at the end of the day, it happened, and Carson Wentz was going to be out and concussed regardless. Right, you would like to see a penalty flag. You'd like to see something happen there, but it didn't. So you got to move on. The Eagles were moving on without Wentz at that point, regardless. I mean, when you watch it in like fast time and real time, it's a bang bang play. It's tough. I think the most frustrating part for me was after the game, Josina Anderson. Which whenever you start a sentence with Josina Anderson, that's not a good sentence, but. Josina Anderson said she spoke with the ref. I forget his name. I don't know if you guys saw this, but the ref said he dove, so that took him out of – I forget the phrase that you want to use. But
so he's no longer protected. He's no longer protected as a quarterback, and that is correct. However –
it's not correct, though, because they changed the rule last year.
Well, they did make an amendment.
There was a flag. There was a penalty about this a couple weeks ago. It wasn't the Eagles game, but I forget who the quarterback was. But he dove forward and he got hit, and they called roughing the passer. They called it, helmet.
I have no problem if you're going to say that he's a runner there, because he is. He is a runner. In my opinion, he's a runner at that point. The hit is still illegal. It's not a legal hit. It would have been 15 yards, but I agree with you. It wasn't going to make a difference. He was going out with a concussion regardless. And it brings us to what we were getting to is the rest of the game. Doug's play calling. Was it seemed erratic a little bit yesterday. Was that just him getting panicked because all of a sudden here's his quarterback, they game plan, he's out, he's gone?
Yeah. I mean, he said it himself. He said he felt confident in the game plan all week, which obviously he's going to say that. But, after the last 4 games, I think you felt good about the Eagles and finding their identity. Like you finally saw consistency over a 4-game stretch. Yes, granted, it was against bad teams, but it's 4 NFC East opponents. Like, it's tough to win 4 straight games against Redskins, Giants, Cowboys. So they did it. They found their identity with Miles Sanders and Boston Scott and, the 12 personnel. So Ertz is playing out there with 1 kidney, but you still have Wentz. And then once he goes down, I just feel like Doug he threw a lot of the playbook out. But even with that said, I mean, McCown looked pretty good, and they figured out how to move the ball. They just couldn't punch it in.
Yeah,
that's the thing. McCown did look good.
He did.
That's the unfortunate thing. He just, when it came time to be inside the red zone, he just wasn't prepared, and that's not his fault. That's just the way it goes.
Exactly. So it just sucks, man. It's just like, how do you guys feel today after that loss?
That's exactly what we said. This isn't anger. This isn't anything more than just disappointment. And man, it sucks. This whole thing sucks.
Yeah.
That's what we were talking about before you go. I'm angry in the way that, and I said it earlier, was what it could have been. I'm not angry that they lost. It was there, like a lot of games. It was just a frustrating season. And you're mad because of the injuries. You're mad because of how the play calling was sometimes. It's just a combination of things that just frustrate you. But all in all, I mean, if they had what they had, what they should have had, I mean, this could have been a good run, possibly.
But when you say if they had what they could have or should have had, who are you referring to? Besides,
just injuries in general. Yeah, just injuries in general.
Right.
Because even with the Super Bowl year, they had a lot of injuries, but not to this degree. This was just like to another power.
It was absurd,
and that's unfortunate. But I will say they played better with the practice squad guys when they settled in, and you might have found some talent here for next year's roster.
Agree.
It begs the question. We're going to get to it. We're going to do a little should they stay or should they go. We usually do a little true or false. We're going to switch it up. Were some of these guys that toxic to the locker room? I mean, clearly they had to be. The guys that come off the top of my head are the guys that weren't playing. Nelson Aguilar, Alshon Jeffrey. They go away, and then all of a sudden things start working to the betterment of the team. It's
not a coincidence, right?
It's not. No.
I mean, I think Alshon Jeffrey's the leader of that list. Like Alshon Jeffrey is. I brought up Josina Anderson and her reports about the locker room, whatever, this and that. It's not official, it's him, but at this point, I feel like all signs point to Alshon Jeffrey being, I don't want to say a cancer, but maybe not in love with the idea that Carson Wentz is his starting quarterback. I don't know, but for whatever reason, when he left the field, when Nelson Aguilar left the field, like you said, when all the practice squad guys entered, something clicked. And I don't know if that relates to Doug Peterson or what it is, but I think he's a big piece of this, because why does it feel like he always needs to have his hands tied behind his back to be successful? Why does it always feel like he needs everything simplified to the biggest degree for him to have success with his play calling? I don't know if it's a coincidence, but it doesn't feel like it is.
Well, that's something that I think is going to have to come up in the offseason, and it was brought up. I believe I heard it on one of the national shows. I think Chris Sims was talking about it, that coaches who are tied into their play calling haven't done so hot over the past couple of years since. And I'm not saying this is a Frank Reich thing, because we're not gonna go down that road again. But Doug being the play caller, is there just too much on his plate instead of being able to be the coach to just kind of be the general?
I don't know. I don't know if that's his style. I think his style is, I want a defensive coordinator that is sort of a head coach and they can just handle the defense themselves. And I think what he specializes in is building and designing playbooks. And, despite us questioning it a lot, I think that's just the style that he likes to go in. So I don't think the answer is, Doug needs to relinquish his play calling duties and have a more macro approach to his leadership. I just think this is how he likes to run his team from a head coach standpoint, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, I think Doug should not be calling the plays.
Really?
I think he needs to. Yeah, I don't think he should be calling the plays at all. I think he needs to give that to somebody and let them run with it and stick his nose in when he has to. I think his play calling at times this year hurt the team. I mean, you could see what Zach had to say. I mean, Zach pretty much read my mind, and Rich, same thing too, using the run game. It wasn't used enough, and when it was used, it was effective, and he kind of went away from it. A little bit scatterbrained at times.
Yeah.
Yesterday, if you're scatterbrained yesterday, I get it. That's your franchise quarterback went down and wasn't coming back in. So I get that yesterday. But during the course of the year, that's part of that frustration that I was talking about earlier is that the play calling should have been a lot better.
Yeah, I think part of it is they bring in Deshaun Jackson, who we only saw in one game, right? And Doug wanted to have such a dynamic offense, this offense that, they were going to sling the rock. They were going to be very, tough to defend and game plan for. And that gets him away, I think, from the basics. And you have to simplify things sometimes, and you have to just simply put the ball in playmakers' hands. And I think that's what we saw the last 4 games of the season, right? When he has all these toys and he wants to do all these big plays and these big things, and it's like, do less. It's like forgetting Sarah Marshall when he's like, you got to do less. Nope, now you're doing too much. It's just
I'm going to call you PPOP.
I watched that movie one time.
My name's Kunu.
Yep.
But yeah, sometimes less is more. I know that one. I agree with you.
You got to do more than that.
Right.
Well, the weather outside is weather. All right,
weather. Keep going.
Watkins, you're going to keep singing. Oh, what do we got? We got a little Yingling there.
A little Yingling.
Okay, so you got Yingling. Watkins, you haven't chimed in. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking Cape May beer, New Year's resolution.
Ooh.
We're big fans of Cape May Brewing on this show here. We're working on getting ourselves down there to broadcast live from the brewery. But I got my nice cup of water. Yeah, we're cutting down for the new year.
Going back a couple comments, Greg Davis checking in on Facebook said he saw Miles and has an MCL sprain. Would be out the next week. I wouldn't surprise me. He was keeled over in pain at halftime. I don't know. I didn't expect him to come back in the second half, and he did. But yeah, I think a lot of these guys would have been available for next week if they did move on. So let them heal up. Let them heal up. Get ready for next year now.
You brought it up next year. Let's move on to next year a little bit. I'm going to read a little bit of a quote here, and maybe this is bad timing on the part of the leader of the defense and one of the leaders of the team, Malcom Jenkins. Quote, "I won't be back on the same deal. That won't happen. I'm not one to beg. I want to be valued. I want to be compensated for what I'm worth, but I want to win. I want to be I want to be good in a locker room, but I'm not a dummy either." Malcom is owed $7.6 million next year with a signing bonus of 1.5. $250 in a roster bonus, a total cap hit of $10.8 million, 6.1 in dead cap, Yeah, he's got an average value of 8.75 million. He is the 11th highest paid safety. Does he have a point there? And even if he's correct, bad timing there, man. I mean, your team just lost. Is that the time to throw that out?
No, but it's like, all we ever want is these guys to be transparent, and that's not the question to be transparent about. But like, Malcom Jenkins keeps it real, and he was just saying, like, I don't think it was going at the organization or anything like negative. He's always trying to put out the fires, not create them. But it's not an ideal time for him to come out and say that. But guess what? If you're him, when was the last time he missed a game? 2006.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a while, and he's the glue to that team. I mean, whether, you can say he had a down year for his standards, you can point out maybe some deficiencies. He's not getting any younger. We get all of that. But, when the Josina Anderson, I'm bringing her name up way too much tonight. When that report came out, who do you think was there to keep everything under control? Malcom Jenkins. Right. He calls player-only meetings. He's the leader of that defense. When we have pizza delivery guys coming in to play cornerback, he's the quarterback of that whole secondary. So he's worth it. It's just time for the Eagles now in the offseason to make a decision and say, do we want to pay the 36-year-old Malcom Jenkins?
Right. You look at some of the names that are ahead of him, Honey Badger, Landon Collins, Kevin Bayard is the highest paid, Earl Thomas, Devin McCourty is in there. I mean, he definitely deserves more money. But you're right. You're not paying the now, you're paying down the line. Right. And look, 36 is a lot different than 32, 33.
Yeah. Yeah. With Malcom Jenkins, we knew that this was going to happen. We thought it would happen last year. And he wound up reporting on time because he had a conversation with Jeffrey Lurie that said, hey, look, play through the year. We'll see what happens. And look, he played his ass off. You're right, Ryan. Didn't have the year he probably would have had, but I think that's more or less of what he was asked to do. He was pretty much probably asked to do more than what he really should have been doing. He's a warrior. He's there every snap, but he was like an 8-year-old girl that had a secret and he just couldn't wait to tell it today during his exit interviews. I mean, hey, look, kept it quiet all year.
Right.
And he made it a point to tell you kept it quiet all year. He wants his money. Can't blame him. He's 36 years old. His career's coming to an end soon. He wants to get paid a little bit more, especially when you have guys that are getting paid more than him that aren't on his level, even at the age he's at.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to pay him.
No? Do you think they should?
I don't know. Do I think they should? This goes back to the whole thing that when you win a championship, you have to overpay for people. And I think this is where that question really comes into play. It's a hockey, it's a problem in hockey all the time. You win a Stanley Cup, you get overpaid for your next 3 contracts, basically. So I just have a feeling that he might walk.
Well, he's under contract for a year. He's not gonna just walk. You're gonna have to trade him.
I think they might not have to trade him. Yeah, he can hold out.
I think one of the bigger problems, I guess you could say, with this organization is they tend to have a hard time letting guys go, like guys that mean a lot to them, right? Like Jason Peters, he's another guy that fits right into this conversation. Darren Sproles, for the last 3 years, they continue to bring him back. Doug's obsessed with Sproles, so it's like you have to put business in front of personal, and I think that's what we're gonna find out. If they end up doing that with Malcom Jenkins or not. Here's the thing. It's like Howie and the rest of the organization, they need to have a game plan of how to replace Malcom Jenkins. I'm fine with not bringing back Malcom Jenkins, but who's filling in for him? What does your safeties look like then? What's McLeod? Right. Is he coming back? Is Malcom coming back? Is Jalen Mills coming back? If those answers are all no, then fine. But who's coming in?
Right. Well, you're playing right into it.
I think this all I interrupt. I just want to say this all goes back to they made the mistake with Dawkins. They don't want to make that again. And now you have a prime example in Peters and Jenkins. Will you make that? Will you do what you did what they did to Dawkins in 2009?
Well, let's talk about it. Let's go through the free agents. And Greg Davis is asking who's staying, who's going. Let's run through it real quick. Rodney McLeod, 29-year-old safety. He's $6 million this year. Is he a stay or a go guy? In my opinion, he's a stay guy. He's the glue back there at the tail end of the secondary as a safety with Malcolm Jenkins. I don't see a scenario where you can just let him go because there is no plan. Are you going to bring like a Macho Harris type guy back in? That worked out well before.
Yeah, I think I would want them to keep McLeod, but from what I'm hearing, he's a go guy. You know, Jeff Mosher, who I do the show with on 97.3 every day. You know, he's the Eagles reporter. He's in the locker room. He knows much more than I do. He feels like that they're not going to bring McLeod back. So
I agree with Ryan. I don't think they do either. I think this team is going to have a major facelift on the defensive side of the ball going into next year.
Well, let's keep going with it. Ronald Darby, $6.5 million, stay or go.
See ya.
Michael, yeah, I agree with you. I think it's time for him to go. 26-year-old cornerback, though. I mean, traditionally the Eagles don't draft that position, at least recently, very well.
And they don't go to free agency really well with it either. So what difference does it make?
Right.
Yeah, the cornerback position frightens me this offseason. I think Darby is also a go guy. I don't think they bring him back either.
Jalen Mills, he on the other side. They got to bring one of them back, right? I mean, you can't.
He's the only one that comes back.
Yep.
I like
Mills will be back.
You can drop him back to safety eventually.
Yeah, that's the idea. That's something we talked about today on the show as well. I don't know if I love that though, but that's been talked about a lot.
Do you want him covering guys?
I don't know. I mean, he has stretches where he looks really
I will
good.
say this. In his defense, he's coming off of a pretty serious injury. So, this might not be the sample of this season, him coming back from it. Let's see how he has the offseason to rehab it, come into training camp, preseason. I think I'm harder on Jalen Mills. I think I expected more, but then when you think about it, and we're getting to the offensive side of the ball. I know a lot of people were asking about Jason Peters and Jordan Howard, but Jalen Mills.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
We're building.
Looking at it, I expected more about Jalen Mills, but then when you sit down and think and reflect, he came back from a serious injury,
right?
So you can't really fault him for that.
So people don't want to know about Vinny Curry and Timmy Jernigan, if they're going to come back or not. I mean, low dollar kind of guys. It could be worth it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think so.
Curry's played well.
They're the type of guy, if you get them on a deal, you might as well just do it.
Exactly.
Another guy that's out there, Grugier Hill, he's 700,000 this year. I mean, how much is that going to cost? You need the depth. Go ahead and you go ahead and you do it. Here's one that's interesting, and I think he is a walk. The team has an opt-out, is Nigel Bradham. Time for him to get going. I'm just not a fan. I'm not a fan.
No? Why not?
Well, when you play linebacker, you have to tackle. And usually
that helps.
I mean, I played linebacker back in the day. I missed a lot of tackles. Didn't last very long at the collegiate level, about one practice. So you have to tackle as a linebacker. The Eagles, it's time for the Eagles to invest in linebackers that can play one. It's just one. Just give me one. One, maybe two, and he's the guy. Hey, $5.75 million. Hey, see you later. If you can get that money off the cap, get out of here.
Yeah. I mean, in today's game, the linebacker position isn't valuable, but you still need at least one reliable, consistent one, if not two. So,
I'm not looking for Luke Kuechly. I just want a guy that's going to be able to cover a receiver if he has to and tackle in the open field.
Yeah, we're not asking for much.
No, just a job description.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the offense. Let's move on to the elephant in the room here, real legitimately because of the size. 37-year-old Jason Peters came out, basically said, hey, look, I'm not retiring. I'm coming back. I'm going to play somewhere. guys, and we talked about this early in the year, Michael, unless he is moving to guard, I don't think he's going to be a Philadelphia Eagle next year. And I don't necessarily have a problem with that. Thank you, sir. You're a Hall of Famer, but I think it might be time to go.
He's another one, guys, where it's like they love Jason Peters. Like Howie Roseman loves Jason Peters. Doug, has a lot of respect for him as well. So I would love to see him stay in like a somewhat smaller role, but they drafted Andre Dillard for a reason. So if you bring Peters back, then what are you doing with Dillard? I just don't see Dillard's going to want to start getting more reps, although he doesn't have much say yet. He's entering his second year, but you're going to have to get him up to speed a little bit here eventually. And it looks like Peters is going to want to have a starting role where he's the every down guy as long as he's healthy.
As long as he wants to be the starting tackle, he is stunting the growth of Dillard. We've said this time and time again. It's, sometimes you have to say goodbye if you want to grow. They're not going to win a Super Bowl with Tim Peters as your starting left tackle or starting tackle, period.
But Pro Football Focus.
And guess what? The fall starts. I see the comment from Kathy there checking it. No, it's all right. I interrupt Michael all the time, so it's fine.
Yeah.
You see Kathy saying too many false starts. This is something that he's done for his whole career. It's just he's slower now. He doesn't have the legs that he did early on, even 2 years ago, 3 years ago now.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that, but similar to what I said with Malcom Jenkins, fine, get rid of Peters, but is Dillard going to be capable, or are we okay with him learning on the job and not being great next year? Are the Eagles okay with that? I mean, I was going to say that Jason Peters was the 5th ranked tackle in the NFL through 16 weeks this year. So, we get annoyed with him at times. He still has false starts. And I know that ranking system can be a little bit bogus and annoying.
Yeah.
But my point is,
it definitely is.
He's still a top 10 at his position, I think.
I'd agree. I would agree.
Yeah. The thing is, too, is he was ranked number 5 because he plays 3 plays, comes out for 20, and then goes back in 3 and gets hurt, comes out, in and out, in and out.
Yeah.
I think Chris has a good idea there.
Move him to guard.
See that last comment?
Yeah, look.
Well, did you read before moving him to guard?
Oh, I can't see. I don't have my glasses on. I don't have. Make that fat ass a guard. Look, you can tell him that. I'm not telling him that.
Yeah.
It could be a scenario. We've discussed it before where him moving to guard might be a positive thing, a positive step. I don't think that he would want to do that. He's a tackle. He's going to want to get paid tackle money. And look, I don't know, the Giants are probably going to look for a guy, the Redskins, the Browns. Go there. I just don't think it's Philadelphia. It's Dillard's time. The team, they need to get younger. Now's the opportunity.
Yeah.
$5.3 million cap hit. You see that?
Yeah.
What Bob Sharp said.
Brad him with that cap hit. But there's an option there. So I should have done more research. I have my notes, but I can't read Polish. Let's move around. Let's stick on the offensive line. Halapuli Vali Vaitai. I'm glad. I always wanted to say that. I got it right. 26 years old, $2 million. See you later. Enough of that guy too. They got to start turning things over here. But again, like we've all said, they need to have a plan, and I just don't know if they do.
Right, like Vaitai is a guy that we've all been so frustrated with, but there's probably 20 to 25 teams in the NFL that would love to have him.
Right, exactly. And traditionally, when he is prepped to play for the week, he's been okay. So maybe it's a guy you get him on a decent deal, and you bring him back. Here's one offensively that is sticking out: Jordan Howard, 25 years old. $2 million this year on the books. Is it worth paying another running back to be here?
Yeah, but not Jordan Howard.
How old is he?
He's only 25.
What?
That's the statistic that I pulled out.
Are you
I
sure?
feel like he's been in the league
Yeah,
like
okay.
9 years.
Maybe let me check that. I want to make sure I didn't look up Jordan.
I mean, I'm not doubting you.
No, he is 25. You're right.
His tweet today made it seem like
He's an old
gone.
looking 25.
He is.
He's got to be gone.
He tweeted out today. He said he basically was thanking the city. I don't think he's coming back.
No. I mean,
I don't think he liked the system.
Not at all. I mean, did he fit here? Do you think he did?
Not at all.
No,
Not even a little bit.
he needs the ball 20, 25 times a game.
Yeah. He's just, as soon as he got hurt, and you never want someone to get hurt, but as soon as he went down and Doug once again was forced to go to Miles Sanders, we were like, wow, this is much better. It just,
where was that all year?
Exactly.
Last running back here, 25-year-old Corey Clement, restricted free agent. Interesting case here. He made next to nothing. He was on his rookie deal as an undrafted free agent. Obviously hurt. Is he a guy that they should bring back or will bring back next year? He's probably going to be coming back for little money. I always liked him as a player. I liked him at Wisconsin. I liked him at Glassboro. To me, he has a spot on this roster as maybe the fourth guy to earn a spot to get to that third running back position.
I mean, you just lost Darren Sproles. I think you can make him into a Darren Sproles type of player.
Don't short Boston Scott like that.
Yeah. What about Boston?
I think Boston Scott elevated his game enough that you'll see Corey Clement and him fight for a main, role as far as game day goes, and the whoever doesn't is going to get the return man, third down specialist type of role. I like Boston Scott. I hope he comes back next year. He reminds me of Heath Sherman sometimes.
Heath Sherman. There you go.
Good pull. Yeah, I think Boston Scott and Corey Clement will both be back.
Yeah,
just need a big back.
Yep.
Let's move
Go
around.
back to a fullback.
Nobody's going back to a fullback. Even Greg Schiano's not going back to a fullback. They're going to run the Princeton offense. They're going to have 4 quarterbacks on the field at one time.
They're going to need to. That's all they got.
That's borderline there too.
Is everybody on this team a free agent at the end of this year?
That's what happens.
A lot.
Yeah, they have a ton of free agents. Look, that's Howie for you. Let's go around.
A lot of draft picks too. 10
draft picks. Well, we're going to have a draft pick. We're going to have a draft show when we get closer to it. Let's go around the NFL here. The big question, I put it out on the Twitter at SEC247 show. Is Tom Brady done in New England? They lost. The way the TV presentation came off is that if he was done and over with, he's not coming back. They're moving on. I just don't see it happening that way, though. I can't just see him walking away after that. Your thoughts, gentlemen?
No way. He's coming back. He's not retiring. So the question is, are the Patriots going to decide to move on? No way. Bob Kraft came out today and said he's going to hope and pray Tom Brady returns. Now, you could say that's just PC, and of course he's going to say that, but I don't see the Patriots moving on. I don't. Or Brady.
No. That holy trinity up there in Kraft, Belichick, and Brady, they know when they're going out, and it's not yet. He threw a pick 6 to end that game. He's definitely coming back, how competitive he is. But I'll tell you, the way people treated that, say what you want. He's a Patriot, whatever, but he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. The treatment that people around the country gave him is just awful.
Absurd.
It's really absurd. People don't like it when you win. People love it when you fail. And he failed yesterday, one of the few times he's failed. And Jesus, I thought that was bad until Wentz got hurt on Sunday and saw even more crap. But he's not done.
No,
he's not done. He's going to play for another 2 seasons. He's going to play 2 more seasons unless he wins the Super Bowl next year. Then he's done. Let's face it. They were 12-4 this year, and he had nobody really to throw to but Edelman.
Dude, they had nothing. That offense was
nothing. No running game. Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah. So he's as competitive as it gets. Obviously, he said last year he wants to play to 45. He's not going anywhere. You're going to have to cart him off.
I agree with you. I thought maybe there was an opportunity for him to go somewhere else and play, but he's not. He's not leaving New England. He's going to have to force Bob Kraft's hand here a little bit. Well, someone's hand up there. Hey. And get some players. Hey, Odell Beckham wants out of Cleveland. You want to go win? There you go. You could go play with Tom Brady. I don't know if it would happen. Probably.
Yeah, I would not doubt it 1 second if that happened. I will say that going back to Brady, I think.
No, God, no. He's not coming to that. He's not coming to the Eagles. No,
the only team non-Patriots that Tom Brady would go to would be the 49ers. That would be the only non-Patriot team that he would go to play.
What are you going to trade him straight up?
That's not going to happen.
Trade him straight up for
it's not going to happen, but that would probably be the only scenario if Garoppolo wasn't, as successful as he's been.
All right, so we all agree he's coming back. Real quick, let's touch on this. Coaching moves in the NFC East. Ron Rivera hired by the Washington Redskins. Look, really good coach. I actually like it.
You do?
I do. I think it's a good move on their part. But
it's safe. I'm not knocking on, but it's a safe move.
And Mike McCarthy getting picked up by the Cowboys. I think that's okay too. But and here's the but. You have two toxic ownership groups in Daniel Snyder and Jerry Jones. These guys are successful elsewhere, but they have to deal with this nonsense. So it is what it is. I mean, they're okay hires, but it's nothing to be scared of, I don't think. There's some Eagles fans out there in groups on Facebook that are Mike McCarthy's coming in, Super Bowl winning coach. It's not going to matter.
Yeah, 10 years ago he won the Super Bowl. I mean, Mike McCarthy's a good coach, but he said, right after he left the Packers, he was like, I need to do more analytics. There were some things I fell short in, and I heard his pitch to the Cowboys was that he was going to get involved with more analytics with his coaching staff and how he approaches in-game situations and week-to-week preparation and everything like that. I mean, I don't think he can pull that off. And I think they're both safe hires. I think both organizations are in somewhat of crisis mode a little bit. The Redskins, not as much as the Cowboys, but just because they have a new young quarterback. But
right.
I'm not scared of either of them. No.
Greg chimes in here. Jim Schwartz to the Browns, maybe. I still think
I will drive him to the airport.
Oh, stop!
Or drive him to Cleveland myself.
They're still going to call Urban Meyer first. It's happening. I'm telling you, it's happening. All right, let's move on here to the Philadelphia 76ers, who were actually victorious today. Somehow, minus Joel Embiid and his finger.
Played.
He did play, but his finger went sideways. Like a win is a win.
Booger McFarland.
Yeah, a win is a win. It was a win over Oklahoma City. That's great. But in the past week or so, Ryan, this is what we brought you on for here. You're the expert here. What is going on with this team? It is maddening to see them playing the way that they're playing.
A lot is going on with this team. A lot. I mean, they have some serious issues. Like this isn't just people say, oh, well, it's just energy and effort. Look at their record against the East. What is it? 6-2 against the Bucks, the Heat, the Pacers, the top four teams in the East. And that's fair. And I think if you want to be positive about this team, that's the one thing you have to hang your hat on. But there's something deeper going on with this team. Joel Embiid is like on the island of misfit toys right now. He's alone by himself in the corner. No one, it seems like, is happy with him and is enjoying to play with him. I don't know what it is, but Embiid keeps coming out with these subtle jabs in the media, and they're basically direct shots at Ben Simmons without being direct shots.
Yeah,
right?
They are.
I mean, I've heard, and there's no credibility to this, but I heard that the locker room is frustrated with Embiid, with how the organization has handled him, with how he's kind of been coasting through certain games earlier in the season. And, Embiid came out and he said, I'm not happy. I need to play with more effort, be myself again. Okay, great. Well, we'll do it. And I think he's trying to do it, but I don't feel like the rest of the locker room is bought into what Brett Brown wants them to look like in half-court sets with Embiid in the game. And that's a problem. And that's just Embiid. I mean, there's a million other problems as well.
Right, and that's a huge problem. I mean, that's your major piece.
That's the biggest.
Right, that's your biggest piece, and we're gonna mesh it together here. Is this a Brett Brown problem, or this is a team that should be ticketed to the East, at least the Eastern Conference Finals? We talked about it on the preview show that you were on, and this team is anything but right now. I think, what are they sitting at, the 4th seed at this exact moment? Maybe they've gone up, maybe they've gone down.
I think they're at the 5th.
So, yeah, I mean, and the way they're playing, I could see a first round bounce.
I mean, they're not playing well. I think they're going to win a series just due to their talent and how they're built. But nothing's guaranteed with them right now.
So what's the solution here? It's clear that there's a divide. Ben Simmons, and this goes back a while. I think it was, I don't remember if it was last season, maybe at the end of the season before, there was some rumors that Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid did not get along. It seems like that's coming to roost here. I mean, media shots, Instagram posts, this, that, and the other thing. Next thing you know, we're going to see Joel Embiid at the Rutgers Camden Gymnasium shooting 3-pointers in the middle of the night just to troll him. And if he does that, it's my idea.
Good. Well, maybe he does need to do that. But I do think I've been saying this for a while. There's something with Embiid and Simmons. They'll tell the media that they're brothers and that maybe they don't hang out all the time off the court, but on the court, they got each other's back, this and that. They have not figured out how to play alongside each other. They haven't. And there's a lot of factors that go into that. I think one of it is the obvious one. Ben Simmons doesn't want any part of the ball late in games, and he's not developing his offensive game.
No.
Right? I mean,
I
don't know.
What offensive game?
Right, exactly. I mean, it's when he does score, it's off screens that he sets or it's off transition points. I mean, that's it. There's nothing new. Is there anything new that you've seen in his game since his rookie year offensively?
Well, he shot a 3-pointer once.
He's taken 2 3-pointers.
Yeah. Do you count the one? Do you count the one in the preseason game? Because that would be 3, right? But that doesn't count. Doesn't count in the record books. No, nothing.
Yeah. So that's the problem.
How is this? It's fixable, but how is this fixable?
I don't have the answer. I don't have the answer. I mean, I think Brett Brown needs to go, but that's not going to happen this year. That's going to happen in the offseason or after an early playoff exit. All right.
Well, you answered the next question. If Brett Brown's job was in immediate jeopardy, the way that they're playing, I don't. This isn't the NHL. This isn't Major League Baseball. They're not going to bounce a guy in the middle of the year.
No.
But
especially the Sixers with him. Yeah. But it's bad. It's bad. They need depth. They have no scoring. Al Horford has been averaging 8 points a game in the last 10 games. And it's not his fault. In my opinion, it's not Al Horford's fault. It's he can't play alongside Embiid. Josh Richardson, he's supposed to be the new JJ Redick / Jimmy Butler. I blanked on his name, but with the dribble handoffs and the pick and rolls, that isn't working. Horford and Embiid isn't working. And why? You have to point to the coach.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Michael and I have said for a long time now, probably the length of this show, that he's the guy that got them to this point. Now you need to find the guy that's going to get them over the hump, the next guy to come in and build off of it. Who is it? I don't know. I don't know who that is. But it's clearly not Brett Brown. And this season is turning into a disappointment. It's just they're maddening to watch. It's you want to throw your remote at the TV. You want to.
That is how they're built, though, too.
Yeah.
I mean, at their best, they're not pretty to watch. So that's what makes when they play bad, that's what makes it even more frustrating.
And we talked about this on the preview show. They're not going to be a high scoring team. They're going to rely on their defense. So when the defense is not good, they're not going to put up a lot of points. I mean, they put up points tonight. They put up points against Houston the other night. It's just not enough because they're a defensive team. And going back all the way to the beginning with Embiid, he needs a mentor. He does not know how to lead a team. He's very talented. I think he wants to take that next step, but he doesn't know how because there's nobody there to show him.
Well, that was supposed to be Horford, right? I mean,
yeah.
Listen, Horford's not the guy. He needs like a Hakeem Olajuwon, a Kobe Bryant type of mentor. He needs to work with them and listen to what they have to say in order to be successful. He needs a champion, because he's champion caliber talent. He's the reason why people watch the Sixers. And
there's this guy,
him. And as far as go ahead,
there's this guy named Charles Barkley that hangs around in the area. He lives in Philly in the offseason. He's around all the time. He golfs down there at Stockton Seaview. I mean, that's the guy. He's called him out already.
No, it's not.
Why isn't? Why isn't it? Why?
How many rings does Charles have?
Oh, don't listen. Charles and I had a long talk about this.
No, and I'm not joking. I'm not trying to be an ass here. I mean, look, I made Ryan leave, but he needs like a Shaquille O'Neal.
Crack it off. I'm pissed at him.
He needs a Shaquille O'Neal, Hakeem Olajuwon, a big man. Well, I mean Kobe. Kobe's just a very competitive person and just knows the game.
Great.
Yeah,
Kobe would be perfect. And Embiid is
that's what he needs.
He's irrelevant in post-up situations. He's irrelevant when teams double him. And guess what? That's all teams are going to do because they know that's –
well, they did it. They were doing it. They did it against Houston. That's how they took him out of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, and when it comes to Simmons, everybody wants him to be this great player, and maybe he's just not. He doesn't want the ball late in the games. He shies away from it. He shies away from anything that can make him be successful. And that's a shame because he's
frustrating.
So he's not a killer is what it is. I mean, we know that, but
no.
LeBron isn't a killer. I think like the traditional killer phrase.
Well,
like
he was that day's come and gone.
Well, I mean, LeBron's one of the best in the world, but just their style of play.
Right.
Like,
right.
It's just
right.
And you were hoping in year 1, year 2 that Ben Simmons was going to end up similar to how LeBron and Magic and the rest of those guys ended up. But he does not want any type of development in his game late in games. And you're right. We may have seen the peak of Ben Simmons.
And the thing is, and Brett Brown, I've said it since day one. And Ryan, I've even, harassed you on Twitter about it. He's not the coach because if he was the coach, he coached a guy named Tim Duncan down in San Antonio.
Yeah.
Why don't you give him a call? Ask him to talk to Joel Embiid.
That'd be great.
There's a lot of missing parts that just like Ryan said, goes beyond the roster. It's a mental thing. They don't have the mental game to be there. They have the talent. And like Ryan said, they will win a series because of their talent. When the mental aspect comes in, they will fail because of who they have to show them how to be mental about the game.
Yeah. And we only scratched the surface of their problems. I mean, Ben Simmons' development is one. Embiid and how he fits with the roster is two. Here's something I said, and I want your thoughts on this. This isn't a hot take, I promise, but it's going to sound like one. I feel like the organization had a decision to make this past offseason, right? They have Jimmy Butler. They had to make a decision on him. They essentially had to make a decision on Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, J.J. Redick. They decided to offer Redick X amount of dollars, essentially decided to move on from Redick. They decided to move on from Jimmy Butler, right? You bring in another center. You sign Tobias Harris, and you keep Ben Simmons. In my mind, that is not the proper way to build around Joel Embiid. If you want to build around Joel Embiid, you figure out a way to keep Redick, and you can argue a way to keep Jimmy Butler because Jimmy Butler and him were best friends. They were very close, and they worked well together on the floor, especially in half-court sets. So what are you doing to make Embiid's life easier if you're Elton Brand building this roster?
You know, you made a comment at the beginning there that before you started that was, you know, Embiid doesn't play well with the roster. Embiid doesn't have to play well with the roster. The roster has to play well with Embiid. And I think that's where they had a miss. And that's why Butler, you know, and Butler played well with him, you know.
Well,
and I think
that was the big thing about Butler.
Yeah,
Butler didn't play well with Simmons. So who are you building this around? I think that's the big question.
Well, that's
here.
I was just about to say
you have to pick and choose. Look, Chicago
they already chose, in my mind. Right. I think they already made the decision that they're building around Ben.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, absolutely agree with you,
without a doubt.
And look, that's a mistake. We can discuss some of the trade rumors. Both guys, Ben Simmons more than anybody, his name is being bandied about in trade rumors. I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. I'd be floored the day I see a tweet or an alert that happens. Are they going to make any moves of significance here, or is there nothing they can do?
They're going to have to do something. I just don't know. Like, part of me says they have to make a move, but then the other part of me is they haven't had a consistent roster in the past 3 years.
Exactly. That's true. Yep.
What are you going to trade Al Horford and now flip it upside down again? Maybe it works, but then we're going to hear the same excuses. They need a shooter. If they can make a small type of trade to maybe move Mike Scott, move Zaire Smith, and like the Knicks second round pick, okay, fine. Like, you hear Derrick Rose's name, you hear, you know, some other average role player type guys' names. That's not the answer. Like, it'll be nice, but that's not the answer. Morris from the Knicks, Greg Davis said, yeah. But Morris, you're going to have to give up a lot for Morris.
Yeah, at this point, and I agree with you, it's the turnover, the inconsistency in the rosters. It's just not. It's not worth it. Look, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here over the next 3.5 months. Crash or burn time. We really brought you on here for your expertise in this one. So end of the decade last week. You know, Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah.
We were working on building all decade teams, and Michael and I were looking at the Sixers, and we got no clue. We have no idea. This was because you were tanking. It was awful. Who is your Sixers all decade team? If I had to throw it out there for you.
Well, after trashing Ben Simmons, I'd probably put him at point guard.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate because you're right.
Yeah, you got to put.
You have to put him on there, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, and then I'd probably go Drew Holiday at the number 2. Like, you look at the past 10 years and what type of guards that this team had? Lou Williams.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I guess you could maybe put Lou Williams at the 2. But I would go Ben Simmons. I would go Drew Holiday. I'd probably go Iggy. I mean, you see the same all-decade team all over.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what other 6 guys are better than the 5 guys I'm about to rattle off. It's Ben, it's Drew, it's Iggy, it's obviously Joe. And you could say Elton Brand, you could say Thaddeus Young. I mean, take your pick. It's the past 10 years for this organization has been brutal.
It was kind of like the Phillies all-decade team.
You just literally read my whole team, and then my bench guy was JJ. But I had Thaddeus Young instead of Elton Brand. Elton Brand was my honorable mention.
Yeah, I would maybe put Lou Williams as honorable mention.
Yeah.
No.
We had to ask it. It was one of those things where you're looking at it and you're like, yeah, we knew it was bad for a decade, but until you actually put it in play, it was awful. It was awful.
It's bad. I mean, TJ McConnell could be honorable mention.
He could be. You're right. Did AI make it into this decade, or when was that? Was that 2009? See, I thought about putting him in there just to put him in, just for shits and giggles.
I think he played 7 games with the Sixers in 2010.
I couldn't remember when it was, and it popped up on my timeline too. I was at that game when he came back, left at halftime.
Good move.
Yeah. But all right, gentlemen, we're gonna wrap it up. That's what we got here. Birds talk, Sixers talk. Ryan, thank you for jumping on with us. we had fun again. We'll get you back on later on after the season comes to a close, probably, and we'll just shoot the shit some more.
Let's do it, man. Thanks for having me, guys. I had fun.
Where can't people find you? I guess is what we should say.
You can follow me on Twitter at Ryan973 ESPN, and you can find me on the Sports Bash on 97.3 Monday to Friday from 2 to 6. The Philly Special podcast, you can find me on there wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, on my Twitter if you're not technologically savvy, and occasionally Fox 29. I'm doing some more and more Fox 29 hits now, so you can find me bright and early for anyone that's having a late night or an early morning.
Is Mike Jarek as cool as he seems to be?
I mean, I don't want to say that we're best friends, but we're kind of best friends.
But we're best friends.
Dude, I'm so jealous. You have no idea.
He said like 12 words to me off camera.
Oh. All right.
Well, also, too, when you're there that early in the morning, he's not really on yet because he doesn't come into the final 3 or 4 hours.
That is true.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I only had, I think, 2 hits with him. I was lucky to get the later segment, but I'm usually on, you're right, before he gets there.
Mm-hmm.
JV.
Be sure, check out Ryan everywhere you can find him. It was scrolling on the bottom this whole show. We can be found Twitter and Instagram at SEC247show, sportstalkphilly.com, sportstalkphilly.com on Twitter at sportstalkphl. I got it right this time. We will see you guys next week. Remember, tell a friend, share this thing for us. See ya.